What's going on YouTube? Welcome to another video, and you guessed it, we're back here for another squat session, starting off with some high bar squats here, just kind of working our way up. And you've probably seen a bunch of squat videos from me now though, where I'm gonna make a bunch of excuses and complain about my inability to squat, but I honestly feel like getting 1% better each and every time I do have a squat session, so kind of happy about that, and just kind of modifying some things from the unrack here, just being more, strategic with what I'm doing, making sure I'm placing the bar in a good spot. One of the things I want to do going forward though is I want to work on that wrist position. I feel like if I can cock my wrists, make them a little bit straight, not bent back, I'll have a little bit of more lat tightness, but sometimes getting into the position on the squat's really hard, and it takes a few sets to be able to get the mobility and get the position there, and I find the thumbless grip just allows me to get underneath there a little bit better. So gradually and surely I'm going to work towards that, and I think that's my key to staying upright and just be a more efficient squatter. So each session's a little bit different, and I'm really just trying to make sure that I am consistent, right? Because sometimes you'll use a cue for a few sessions and then kind of forget about it and then move on from there, and it can get really annoying because you think you've got it dialed in and it's not baked into your autonomous system, so you have to think about it before you do it. So that's kind of what the process has been like so far. So 360 on squats here, and this is the start of a new program, so we're doing sets of 5 here. So you're gonna see a deterioration, a kind of breakdown, and that's just, I don't know if it's fatigue from the front rack position or the back rack position, or I'm just falling out of line, but I tried to slow these down, make sure everything was locked in, and be as consistent as possible. And that bar does start to work its way up and kind of roll, and that's what I feel like leads to the inevitable front fall forward of my squat. So I'm really trying to take my time, try to stay as upright relatively till I can here, and then you can see it kind of pitch forward, and that was due to fatigue. So just really trying to be consistent with that. I find that if I can find the position where my bar sits, it's a lot easier to tighten my lats, get that shelf going, and then not dip as far forward. But like I said before, carry a lot of body fat in front of me, so I feel like it pitches me forward off balance if I'm not actively bracing, actively making sure my form is correct. So sometimes if I have like a rough set of 5, I'll do back offs, but I'll do lesser reps. So here I did triples, or just a set of 3. I think I do 2 in the subsequent set after. But just to get the extra work in there, I find pushing through on a lift when it's not going the way it should, obviously hit your numbers, but don't put yourself in a position where you can get injured just to, get that ego satisfied or whatever. So I was starting to feel a fall off here with efficiency, form, and strength. And then so I adjusted for that. I did my 5, my 3, and then I did 2, and I said I potentially could get injured going forward if I do this, so I'm going to call it here and then move on to the next lift. Sumo deadlifts here, which can be a little rough, especially when you're doing sets of 6 after squats, when you're not too great at squats. But I like being able to reset on deadlifts. That's kind of why I enjoy them so much, is that I can do 1 rep, treat them as a single, get tight, rip it off the floor, and move on to the next one. If you're squatting or benching, you're taking that weight in that bar, and now you are the system that's supporting it. So you have to make adjustments with that weight, on you. So I find that if I do basically the deadlift, I can reset it, get set, and kind of go from there. So a lot of people will use, the bench catchers or the squat rack to kind of leverage themselves into position, but I like on deadlift, you can just grip the bar, adjust your stance, adjust your grip, and just kind of go from there. So I also have a pretty strong base, so I like being, connected to the ground where I can, I don't have to rely, there's no imbalance essentially, right? There's no barbell on my back pushing me forward. There's no weight above me that's pushing me down as I'm trying to, get my back tight for bench and stuff like that. So deadlift has always come naturally to me. Basically any pull, whether it's like a row, a penne row, a barbell row, or even, a pull from the floor like the log clean, I just find I never really have to think too much about it. It just kind of always, it just clicks. So it's autonomous in that way. Seated hamstring curls here. And I'm really just trying to hammer my hamstrings, get a lot of support there, build my legs, be able to kind of really get that deadlift and squat, have those muscle fibers prepared so I can recruit them, and then obviously leg extensions too. I have to be careful with these. I do get some soreness in the knees, some tendonitis and stuff like that, so I just haven't found a good squat support, alternative T3 exercise that is not a leg extension that doesn't fatigue me too much. The last thing I want to do is squat more after I've already squatted. So to get some sort of isolation in the quads is like a nice way to, strengthen them, but also, allow myself to recover from the squat. And obviously back is important, so I'm always hitting back on my leg day. I've always had a nice connection with my back as well too, though. Pulling exercises, like I mentioned previous, they just have come naturally to me, and it hasn't taken, I don't overthink them. On the squat, I'm constantly running through my head what things I could be doing differently, trying to find different patterns that I can consistently use in order to take advantage and get more weight. It's just, anything pulling is something that I've always been good at. And you kind of always want to do the things you're good at, and you don't really look forward to the things you're bad at. But the things you're bad at, when you can make those little incremental changes and make progress, add more weight to the bar, get stronger, that's where the best satisfaction and self-fulfillment comes from. So you have to find a mix. Mix in the exercises you hate with the exercises you enjoy, and have a good session. So on days when the squat isn't squatting, maybe your deadlift, pulls you out of that hole, puts you in a different mindset, or maybe you get a nice pump doing the isolation stuff after the fact. So it's all about balance, consistency, and just making sure that you're enjoying what you're doing. And I'd mentioned in a previous video, I really wanted to slow these down so that I can get a better contraction. Sometimes when I look back on things on video, it really tells me, hey, you're like overthinking your exercise, slow it down a little bit, get a better pump, get a better contraction. And in the moment, when you've got caffeine in your system, when you've got, your playlist, your good music going, you're just kind of, vibing and moving through your workout. So trying to slow that down just on video. People are relentless and they'll pick you apart for anything. I don't really care too much about that. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. That's gotten me to where I'm at now, though. But just it's a good reminder. It's like if you had a bodybuilding coach who was kind of watching you, hey, maybe slow down this part here, get a little bit more benefit out of it. So back on the bench here, we're consistently benching with the barbell again, which is awesome. And, the strength's going to take some time to come back. Bench is such a specific movement. If you're not training this specific version of the bench, it's kind of hard to go from not using it to using it and then putting up the same weight. A lot of times I find the descent of the lift is the hardest thing to get back. You can press, but just getting the bar to the position where you can press from is enough to, throw you off if you don't do it consistently. And so benching, any sort of lift you do, the motor skills, doing them consistently multiple times throughout the week, I tend to find is the most beneficial thing, even if it's moderate weight, heavy weight, just training the body to be prepared for that. And that's why I'm always consistent with what I'm doing. I found that that's the best way for me to both gain muscle and strength at the same time. So worked up to 276 here for 3, and originally the program called for 5, but like I said, I'm doing what I can, adjusting when necessary. So eventually during this program I'll get back to where I was before, but I don't want to have to recalculate because of the temporary shift and, strength loss. So I'm just going to wait for my body to acclimate back and be prepared to do that. I basically choose, a weight I want to do. Ideally in the certain program I'm doing, there's slight modifications I make where my only priority is my top set, and if I can't get my top set, I can do back downs to make up for that. Ultimately, it's about the long-term gain, getting to where I want to be, putting 1 rep max strength up, and then every other accessory is meant to, support that, build muscle so that we can be prepared for it. So I've noticed with the barbell bench, whenever I transition over to the incline press, there's a little bit of tension there, like I feel tight from that barbell. So usually after a few sets of incline bench, I kind of have the mobility back. And you have to remember, a lot of movements are specific, but you're getting benefits that are going to carry through, multiple times that you hit them. You just have to get to that point where you can both train the motor skills and then train the mobility and elasticity to be able to get back to that. So it's going to take some time to reintroduce the heavy barbell sets in addition to the bodybuilding stuff, but eventually they're going to be cohesive, and provide a nice structural focus. They're all going to play on each other, and we're going to get stronger all together. So I never get discouraged if a lift is not working, if I'm more fatigued than normally am. A lot of times it's all mental, but you just don't feel, there's something in your head that tells you, hey, don't push this rep, I could be injured here, so we're going to just wait for the next time. There's always another workout. As long as your trajectory is positive and you're making ways, towards some sort of new goal, whether it's a new weight or more reps, you'll be fine. Sometimes everything is 1 step forward, 2 steps back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. You just kind of have to play it by ear and do what you can. Nothing is going to be linear. I'm not a beginner, so everything I work for, I'm going to have to be strategic, and every time you hit a PR on something, you could potentially lower the potential to hit a PR on something else. So pick and choose your battles. I think that's a good metaphor for life as well too, though. Understand what the long goal is and what's the best way to get there. Short-term goals like hitting PRs every workout is probably not going to be beneficial to a lot of people in wanting to accomplish their goals. And for some reason here I recorded a bunch of sets of flat dumbbell fly. The gym wasn't too busy. I don't know. I didn't feel like filming the other stuff. I always post it, in the after video or in the summary at the end, so you can take a look at what I did. But sometimes the angles work. Sometimes, I don't know. Sometimes you'll film something and won't look good, and you'll kind of move on and try to find something after the fact. So sorry for all the flies here. They're not the most interesting lift, but again, a substantial chest builder for me, but also just something that's not the most visually appealing unless you're like really lean. But you can just see the different variety and angles and how things affect me. Basically how I'm making modifications as I go through with these sets. The top set, it could look good, but what does every subsequent set look like after the fact? So just trying to emphasize being consistent. But essentially this is the end of the vid. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you in the other ones to come through. Thanks for watching the latest video. If you want to help support the channel, I actually own my own wet shaving and grooming e-commerce website where everything's handmade by me. It's www.apexsoaps.com, and you can get a 10% off code using wet shaver. We've got some cool scents here. We've got some Coca-Cola scents, a horchata scent, traditional barbershop, just some really cool stuff, and you can purchase samples or you can buy the whole set. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out via email. Be quick to respond. Thanks for watching.